Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers and Richard Chapman, Two Bald Nerds. This week we're going to be talking about Father's Day. Get a little nostalgic here. Is that okay, Richard?
Absolutely.
Just getting down on what all means to be Father's Day. So is your dad still with us, Richard?
Yes, he is.
I lost my dad in 97. My dad had
Sorry to hear
kids.
that.
He had them very late in life, though. So, I mean, just to give you an idea, my dad was at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941.
Wow, that's
So he was
crazy.
actually there in the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had kids very late in life. And
Yeah.
just so you know, I have a brother 7 years younger than me. So
Okay.
Dad was you go, Dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I remember we joked about the military component because my dad was Air Force. So your dad was Navy, my dad was Air Force. We can get along though.
We did.
I know
Yeah, we liked the Air Force. You know, you take
Yeah.
care of the stuff the Navy didn't want to. That was always fun.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, what's the best memory of your dad?
So my dad was a dairyman. After World War II, he went to University of Wisconsin and got his master's in agriculture. And Dad
Okay.
got into the dairy business. And when I say dairies, I'm not talking about farms. I'm talking about big buildings with 40 semi-trailer trucks of raw milk that go in one side and cheddar cheese and Dove bars go out the other kind, you know? So for me, dairies were always a very industrial thing. And it's always
Okay.
hilarious working in a dairy, inside the dairy where they're making ice cream and milk and whatever. As you can imagine, number one, it has to be super clean, right?
Right.
And then number two, it's very industrial, very automated, lots of stainless steel pipes and dual chains running along the floor that put those milk crates on. And you never walked inside of a dairy. You just jumped on a conveyor and rode it to the next spot. Anyway, I can remember.
Sounds like a fun place.
Yeah, and everybody had to wear white unitards and little light plastic caps like you see in the butchers. So we basically the inside of every single dairy looks like a Bond villain underground volcano lair, pretty much.
Nice.
And so Dad, man, he was into ice cream. I mean, into ice cream. And he would have this machine that he'd look through that would determine like the amount of milk fats because he wants the richest things for the different kinds of ice creams and all this. This can go on. And if there's not enough milk fat, it becomes chalky. That's a very important word in the dairy business. And I remember me and my dad sitting around there looking at all these different types of milk samples and looking through this weird thing. He held it up to a light and kind of had a little bit of a spectrum. You could tell all this stuff. Boy, we would talk about that stuff for hours.
Nice. Very cool.
How about you?
So probably some of the best memories I had of my dad are baseball and fishing for sure. One of my favorite things actually, when we would go fishing, it was very, very common that we would always kind of prepare for the day. And usually our days were not short. We were out there before the sun came up, and we were lucky if we came home, before the sun went down. We'd be out there all day. But one thing that he would always do is he would always get two things that he knew that I loved having when we were out there on the boat. He knew I liked to have a Yoo-hoo in the morning before we went fishing. And he knew I liked cream soda at lunch when we ate our sandwich out there in the boat. So it was always nice to enjoy Yoo-hoo and enjoy cream soda. And surprisingly, we sometimes still do that when we are able to get together and go out fishing. Last time I went out fishing with him, we did the same thing, Yoo-hoo and cream soda. So kind of a cool little memory.
And where are you fishing? Now you got, I fish.
Mostly Florida, freshwater bass fishing.
Fresh stripers.
So largemouth bass mostly. Yeah.
Really? So yet, okay, that just shows you. I have fished in Florida, but it's usually for like bonefish and, stuff in 4 feet of water, salt water.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of the fishing we did, we did go saltwater fishing off the bridge and things like that, but most of the fishing we did was in a boat, freshwater lakes, some of the main fishing lakes in Florida. Okeechobee, the Harris Chain, Lake Crescent, Lake George, I mean, you name it, all the St. John's lakes and so forth. So we have traversed most of them quite thoroughly.
Gotcha. Most of my fishing in Florida is basically from Key West and around there.
Okay.
And it's almost it is always saltwater. I used to have an uncle I would tease. I was like, why do you even bother fishing in fresh water? I mean, the bass taste like mud. Why do you even do this? And he's like, hang on, I'm going to give you a return on this. And my uncle goes, watch this. And we're on this little styrofoam boat in this little bass pond. And there's this big pile of brush. And there's a little pier sticking out. And there's this little plop of water. And here's my uncle. He'd sit there, cast it, bounce it off the side of the dock and into that water. He goes, try that with your saltwater rig. I'm like, nah, we ain't got nothing like that in saltwater.
It's a lot more targeting for sure. You know that the fish are sitting in certain spots. It's funny, largemouth bass don't have eyelids, so they have to stay in the shade. So they are really, really particular about where they sit. So you generally can kind of get a good feel. If there's a fish, there's going to be one sitting right there. And the tackle, the rods and reels, they're designed to be somewhat accurate. So yeah, you can do exactly that.
Yeah, but of course, the fish you're pulling in are the fish that I use for bait. So
well, I mean, to be fair, I can see where you're going with that. You're definitely talking about a different fish, but I'll tell you, there's nothing like a fight of a freshwater bass that's 8, 9, 10 pounds. They are like a tank, and they will fight and fight and fight and fight. They're a blast to catch. And you're talking about catching them on like 14-pound test, man. So it's not heavy duty line. It's a lot of fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah, my dad never was a fisherman. That was never his thing. He would pretend to fish, and really it was his excuse to take a nap. And more than one time I'd watch him throw a rod in the water. There wasn't even any bait on the hook. He was there to kick back. Yeah, a different. Well,
I can tell you, a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work any day of the week.
There you go.
Hey, I've got a picture of my dad here. Let me share it real quick. I'll show you just a quick one. And actually, of course, it's the two of us in a boat, of course, because that's a good thing. This is actually just a couple years ago. What's that?
Which one's your dad?
You're funny. The good-looking one on the right is is me.
I'm teasing, of course.
Now, a lot of fun times out in the water, though, for sure.
Yeah, I got a picture of me and my dad. Mine's going to be a lot older than yours.
Okay.
Let's see if I can. So that's me and my dad. That's got to be. I just bought that car. That was a 1986 Pontiac Fiero.
You
remember those? Oh my God, I had that car for a few years. Richard, I took it to the beach because it was all plastic. You couldn't hurt the car.
Yeah.
And I'd have pretty girls come up and go, oh, do you mind taking a picture of us on your Porsche? And I'm like, oh, sure, go ahead. Yeah. So anyway, that's me and my dad. That's Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's got to be about 1987 or so.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah. Good times.
I was just gonna say, I remember them old Fieros. They're hard to come by anymore.
Yeah, that Iron Duke engine for the GT Fieros didn't have a good lifespan on them. Aluminum, what do you call it? The main aluminum blocks.
Okay, gotcha.
So they tend to get a little warpy.
All right. Well, listen, I know we've got a little sappy talking about our dads and so forth, because that's what Father's Day is about, right? But
absolutely.
Let's talk about a couple of facts about Father's Day. Did you know Father's Day started in 1910?
No, I did not.
I didn't know that either. I'll be honest, I had to look that up.
So
I was like, how long has Father's Day? What's that?
Did that come before Mother's Day?
I believe the official Mother's Day didn't start until like the 70s or something like that. I think it probably did, sadly. Fathers are not more important than mothers. They're both equally important. That was my disclaimer. And trust me, my mom is important. So
but So you said you had we're just talking about the father ofs and all this stuff, and you were
Yeah.
saying something like, who's the father of IT or something?
Yeah, Claude Shannon. I'll be honest, I never heard of that. But
Claude
he's like, I
Shannon.
guess they coined him like the father of the digital age, as opposed like father of IT kind of thing, or information security. I don't
Claude
know.
Shannon.
Claude Shannon, exactly.
Oh man, I would probably go with Doug Englebart. Have you ever seen The Mother of All Demos?
No,
It's
I
on
have not.
YouTube, and it was from in the like 1968. This
Okay.
guy named Doug Englebart did a
Okay.
demonstration of the future of IT in
Hmm.
essence. And in particular, he was the first time he ever showed networking. And he was the first time anybody ever saw a mouse. And it was the first time anybody ever saw hyperlinks. This is all in one demo. It's a
Wow.
black and white demo. Folks, if you've never watched The Mother of All Demos, you really got to watch it, because here is Doug Engelbert, and this is back with Xerox PARC in the later 60s, literally showing us what the internet's going to look like.
Huh. Very
It's
cool.
absolutely fascinating. I can't recommend it enough. Long distance teleconferencing. This is all in one 90-minute presentation.
Right.
Yeah, good
Interesting.
stuff. So
Well,
anyway, who's this guy? Say his name again.
Claude Shannon says he was responsible for technology that evolved into today's computers and other digital technology. So kind of aligns with the, I was looking up who was the father of like information technology, who was the father of cybersecurity. I'll tell you, there wasn't one specifically for cybersecurity, but they kind of coined Kerckhoff as the father of computer security. So
I would agree. I mean, the Kerckhoff principle is such
cryptography.
I'm even pronouncing it right. I think this is the first time I've ever actually said that guy's name out loud. Kerckhoffs.
Kerckhoff,
So Kerckhoffs principle.
Kerckhoffs principle.
What the whole idea was that in a secure environment, everybody should know the algorithm.
Mm.
And then that way, if we're going to use a lock, everybody should know how to design the lock. And we should all have copies of the lock. But if you don't have a key, you're still not going to be able to open the lock.
Yep.
And this comes up time and time again in IT security. I don't remember the last time we had a big talk on voting machines. And to have these voting machines that have proprietary encryptions, and everybody thinks that's a good idea. And the answer is that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
We need open source encryptions. Folks, most of the encryptions we use today are open source. I mean, RSA now is open source. I mean, it wasn't always. AES encryption is very much open source. Everybody knows how AES works, but if you don't have the AES key, you ain't going to crack it. And the power to that is that by everybody knowing how the lock works, anybody can try to pick the lock. And I mean, there's thousands of people who are trying to crack AES every day, and they're wildly unsuccessful, and we're happy about that. But I'm a big believer. I teach Kerckhoffs Principle in my Network Plus books because I think it's such an important concept. See, I thought you were going to say like Grace Hopper as the father of IT. No, okay.
I love when you crack yourself up.
The Grace Hopper's hilarious, man. She was
right.
she was a great old gal, but I don't think it would be fair to call her the father of anything.
No, that's kind of mean. All right, so a couple Father's Day fun facts.
Okay.
How many fathers in the world? Any idea?
3 billion.
So believe it or not, 1.5 billion fathers in the world. That's crazy.
That's it?
That's it. But it's still crazy though.
Oh man.
Actually, the funny thing is, I think out of that number, what I saw said 72 million of them were biological fathers. I'm like, how does that translate? But I guess the average, yeah, exactly. You know, stepfathers and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Wait a minute. There's only 72 million guys out there on the entire planet Earth who have created children. I'm going to have to call a little on your sourcing on that one. I'm
That
not
one might
saying
be
you're wrong. I'm just saying that seems like a very small number of some very busy guys is about the only
maybe.
thing I can think of there.
Well, I mean, you know, if you're talking about, you know, 2.5 kids per household, maybe that works.
Yeah, but there's 8 billion people on Earth, right? So of 8 billion, 72 million would be, hold on, I can do this in my head. Now, I see that can't be right because that would be less than 1%. Yeah, that'd be less than 1% of all people. So maybe 2% of all males.
I
Yeah,
don't
something like
know.
that.
I don't know.
Oh, but you know, it sounds good. But you're a
Sure, why
dad.
not?
You're a
What's
dad,
that?
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. I have a
Neat.
wonderful 16-year-old daughter. She made me this shirt, by the way, for Father's Day.
Nice.
Captain Dad.
I've got one daughter and 3 grandkids. So
Nice.
my Father's Day present will be a phone call, which I am happy to get.
Yeah, my daughter actually, for the first time, will not be with me for Father's Day. She's down in Florida, exploring some universities and colleges, trying to figure out
Holy
exactly where she
smoke,
wants
here
to
we
go.
go, man.
I know, right?
Terrifying, huh?
Yeah, exactly. All right, one more little silly fact I found. Again, fact. 100 million Father's Day cards are sent each year. 100 million.
Consider there's only 72 million fathers.
That's a lot of, I know, right? Again, just goes to show you, be wary of your source.
There was a particular a comedian. I don't remember who the comedian was. Anyway, it's like if you understand the difference between moms and dads, like you could, for your mom, if you forget her Mother's Day present, you can go down into like a ditch and find a stick and carve a couple of notches in it and then hand that to your mom and go, here, Mom, I made this for you for Mother's Day. And your mom's going to be like, oh, this is so great. Now, try that with your dad and watch what happens. He's going to go, what? You go reach in a ditch and put 3 notches in a stick?
My mom, for the longest time, she would just say, all I need is a card and a hug and tell me I love you. And that's that. I mean, yeah, that's it.
I just say there and say, I've been suffering for years. It's no big deal. I'll be in the corner until I'm dead. Don't feel bad.
We can't end this on that note. So why don't we end this on this note? Mike, happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Happy Father's Day to you, Richard. You guys and gals and everybody else, if you got a father, give him something. And if it's all good, man, because it's Father's Day. If you like Two Bold Nerds, check out our entire playlist right here. It's a lot of fun. We'll see you there.